When you hear I'm going to be talking about War of the Ring, the original, I expect you're thinking I'm going to be talking about this, the first edition of the granddaddy of war games from the early 2000s. But no, I'm not. I'm going to be speaking about this, the 1977 iteration of War of the Ring. Now, I guess that some of you who found this video are actually interested in this War of the Ring. This is a first edition. I was an early adopter of War of the Ring. This is from the early 2000s and when it was a fantasy fight game. Now look, I am going to be doing a review of this at some point in the future and I'll do a playthrough as well. So if you like and subscribe, you can see that when that comes along sometime in the next couple of months. That said, I wanted to look at this 1977 War of the Ring. So the first question is, are they the same game? No, and for legal reasons, no, they are not the same game. There are significant differences, but there are also significant similarities. And my opinion is that this represents an early version, an iteration of the game that evolved into what we know as War of the Ring. And we'll have a look through and I'll explain why I think those similarities exist and where exactly. So let's have a look at the game. So you're now looking at the box cover for SPI's Lord of the Rings from 1977, but there was another version of the same game which had a slightly different cover, but that wasn't the major difference. Okay. How is it that I've ended up with two copies of the same game that sells on online marketplaces for quite a lot of money at the moment? Do I need to? No, not really. But let me explain. About 15-20 years ago, people were not using eBay for their games as much as they do now. You used to pick them up in charity shops all the time. For each of these copies, I paid less than £5, and I know that because the price labels were still on them when I dug them out of the attic the other week. I bought one of them and thought, you'll see why I thought this. I thought the pieces aren't all going to be there. So when a week or so later I found another copy in another charity shop, I bought that thinking between the two of them I'd probably be able to put together one complete set. As it turns out, both were complete. And when we do have a look, you're going to realise that that's quite something. So what's the difference then between the one with this cover and the one with this subtly different cover over here? It's the board map. So let's have a look at that. So one version of the game comes with a mounted map. The map pieces are mounted on black card. None of them are numbered in any way. And you have this kind of jigsaw thing. So let's try and put this together. So you are going to get an enormous table-filling map with this game, and most of you watching this will recognise Middle-earth. All the famous places are there. I thought this was going to be the better and more usable type of map. We'll have a look in a moment at the other one, which isn't perfect either. But this has all sorts of problems. It's quite slidey. It pops up at the corners. Not surprisingly, I'm sure this was once flat as flat can be, but it's 50 years old, or you know, very, very nearly 50 years old. Some of the, if we look here, for instance, some of the hexes, sorry about that, cross two of the board game maps, and you're going to be having to put counters in these hexes. And just for scale, let me just put my finger there so you can see this guy. It's going to be pretty nightmarish to be moving troops around and these things sliding and tokens going down between the boards. So let's have a look at what the other game came with. Okay, so the other version of the game has one of these paper maps. It is though, it is in two pieces, and you see it fits neatly over the boards. It's exactly the same, just not cut up. And then you've got the other piece that would go over these. This doesn't lie flat either, and with the tiny tokens we have, that's also going to be problematic. But I think this is my preferred option for playing this. It does suggest in the rulebook, I mean genuinely, this is what 1970s rulebooks used to do. It suggested you tape down the map. I think in the days of sleeving cards that we're in now, where people are very protective of their expensive board games, I can't see many people wanting to tape down their antique 1950s War of the Ring. But okay, let's talk about the first similarity with the more modern Lord of the Rings. Now, of course, they've got the same source material. Peter Jackson's movies. No, I know. Those are much later. The Tolkien book. So they're going to have the same sort of map, you might think. But think a bit further, to be honest. There are areas on this map, like Far Harad and Khand, down here, the desert areas, up through the Wild and Rune, and into the Northern Wastes, that aren't really mentioned in the book Lord of the Rings and don't really appear in the battles. So there are many ways you could implement a War of the Ring game. This one's gone for this worldwide, not worldwide, because obviously we've got bits of the world missing, but a Middle-earth wide map, including areas which are only mentioned in passing. But the map's pretty much identical to what we see in the more modern War of the Ring in terms of scope, not in terms of presentation, but in terms of scope. It suggests to me that continent-wide war was what was being aimed at in both games. Right, let's have a look at what else you're going to get in a box from the 1977 War of the Ring. I wasn't going to do a comparison, but with the dice I decided I would. These are the dice from the newer War of the Ring from the early 2000s, and some of these are really pretty, really kind of shiny little dice with special symbols on. In contrast, the 1977 game comes with this. This is what a 1977 50-year-old die looks like. Look at that. See if it works. No, it doesn't work. It gives you ones. So next up, the cards. You get quite good cards. I'm quite impressed with the cards. We've got lots of characters. So we've got the Full Fellowship. Who's that hiding behind there? Legolas. So we've got all the things you'd expect. The Bibbidi Bobbidi Bibbits. A couple of versions of Wizard Man. Dwarf Fella. Then we've got a Gollum, a Saruman, and a Chief of the Dunlendings. Over here, we've got loads of people. We've got a bunch of people from Rohan. We've got Imrahil. I was always sorry he wasn't in the film. Oh, we've got all the peeps. We've even got Denethor knocking around there somewhere. I can't see him at the moment. Celeborn. Oh, he's under here, look. Denethor. Okay, then you got some baddies. They all wear black. And we've got some mystery villains. Oh, what have we got? A Balrog, a spider. And then some magic items, which is cool. Now there's nothing like that in the modern game, unless second edition has it. At various locations on the map, you can pick up magic items and share them out between the Fellowship. So those include Shadowfax, Lembus, various elf swords and palantirs, and mithril mail and stuff is all in there as well. All the things from the movies. The only thing that's a little bit grating is that they're randomised, which is cool in one way because you don't know what you're going to get. It's like getting a little surprise present. But at the same time, I don't know, do you really want to be picking up the mithril mail in Lorien rather than Rivendell? Or, oh God, listen to myself. I'm sounding really geekier than I want to. You have search cards. And again, this is a similarity with the modern game that suggests that there was some influence. Because the Dark Powers player is going to be spending points, i.e. a resource, much like in the newer game you have dice that count as your resources to spend, and the Dark Powers player will have to spend some of their points on searching for the Fellowship if they want to eliminate them effectively. So, but that involves some search cards. There's only certain places they can search on a turn, and those cards will dictate that. And then event cards. You need some event cards, don't you? To mix it up, add a little bit of randomization. Let's pick an event at random. Talking of random, and see what it says. So, rivers flooded. Go on, that's a bit dull, isn't it? All major rivers unpassable. Let's try something, see if we get something else. Oh, that's more like it. Boromir attempts to seize the ring. Dun dun dun. Okay, let's do the paperwork. So you'll get an endurance chart with all the characters on. Now you only need to look at one column because it's repeated for multiple games. It's also, I think it's double-sided. Yeah, it is. And this is, the health of the various characters in the game. So you can see there's quite a lot of characters. You also get this. This is classic late 70s, early 80s stuff. A chart of tables, which again is two-sided, but it's not repeated. These are different tables. We got tables S8, army combat, S9, percentage loss, G5. I mean, you've got to do percentages. You've got to do proper maths in 1970s games. God forbid we would do that now. You get the idea. Terrain effects, shadow points. I think you actually get 2 copies of this in the real game. I've certainly got multiple copies knocking about. And then the rulebook. Now, anyone who's tried to go through rulebooks from games from this era will have felt the same pain. Something we've definitely improved on is presentation of rulebooks. Look how dense the text is on this. Yep, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. Oh. I think there's 24 pages of this. So trying to find the rule that you need in here is not the easiest thing. You've got to have a good overall understanding of the game. I will say as well, something that again suggests that similarity, having a knowledge of the more modern War of the Ring really helped in understanding some of this. The rules come in a character game and also a campaign game. But for character game, what you're really looking at, if you want to compare it to the more modern game, it's the bit where you're moving the Fellowship down to Mordor, and that the ring wraiths are looking for the Fellowship. That's what the character game is in this old book. You just use the little character tokens and nothing else, no armies. And then the campaign game is a character game plus all the armies. So like a full game of modern War of the Ring. I think in modern parlance, campaign has come to mean a linked series of games, with the story arc. That's not the case here. It's just you using the armies for a big old battle game. So pretty dense rules. For those of you who like rules, and I am one of those people, this might be a treat. Right, now the biggie, the main thing that comes with this game. 400 tokens. Okay, so let's just move in a little bit closer and have a look at these. First thing to note is the size of them. I mean, these little things are so tiny. I mean, what is that? That is, oh, that's King Theoden. That's quite cool. But King Theoden is the same size as, say, I don't know, this Mumuk. One of the giant elephants. Oh God, where did he come from? I think he must have come from here. Okay, so what have we got? Fellowship in yellow. We've got light blue for Rohan, white for Gondor. We've got green for the elves and green for the dwarves, which is annoying. And then that brighter blue for Western allies. We've got orange for Men of the South. That'll be the Haradrim and the Easterlings and the Men of Khand and things like that. We've got red and silver over here for red and silver for Saruman's troops of Isengard. We've also got grey for Dunlendings over here, and then we've got black and red for Orcs of Sauron. So have a think for a moment how difficult it's going to be to stack these on those old 50-year maps with all the bumps and not laying flat and lack of room, and then to actually find them and see them and be aware of them. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. But, right, for now, have a think about this. So the factions in this old 1977 game are exactly the factions you've got in the more modern game. You've got Fellowship represented, Gondor, Rohan. This is the one that makes me think, it's Western allies as a group, which includes Rangers, Hobbits, Men of Bree. That Western allies thing, it's just too similar for it not to have had an influence, because it's not an obvious grouping of people that you see or read about in the book. Anyway, dwarves, elves, we'll come back to that token in a moment. You've got Men of the South, Isengard, and Sauron. Now, yes, I know it's the same source material, I know it, but it's quite striking, isn't it? Except for this. Dunlendings, which we have in the 1977 game. We do have them in the modern expansion, at least for the first edition, and I do have that expansion. So, funnily enough, the faction that was added was the one that was missing. So, yeah, that's quite striking. Another thing, and perhaps the most similar, is mobilisation in the 1977 game. Now, you might remember in the modern War of the Ring game, you have to move tokens down a political track to get to the point where the factions want to get involved in a war. But something very similar happens in the 1977 game, and it's this mobilisation and reinforcements. Until certain conditions are met, the factions won't go to war. And those conditions are actually relatively similar. So, elves, dwarves, and Western allies, they are mobilised if any of them... Oh, hang on, where are they? Lost them again. They're mobilised if any of them are attacked, involved in army combat, and then starting on the next game turn, you start to get mobilisation with these. And that means mobilisation +1. So the move after you've been mobilised, you start to add reinforcements. Now, sorry I stumbled a bit there, but seriously, look at this. The mobilisation section is over here. There's no cheat sheet. It's not on the tables, aid memoir. It's something you've got to go and look up in the book. So if all your forces are mobilising at once, oh gosh, what we've got over here, Mordor and its allies. These are the goodies, as it were. But yeah, it's a really similar mechanic to that political track. It's way too similar. Most war games, you would just plonk your pieces down and start to move and recruit and that kind of thing. But this mobilisation, this idea of you cannot go to war until a certain point, and yes, that's thematic in the book, but surely this influenced the more modern game. Right, back to the tokens. How are we going to organise these for storage? Let's put them in baggies. There we go. That's what this looks like organised into bags. It took an afternoon. I mean, really properly an afternoon to sort this out. I mean, that said, it did take me an afternoon to sort those out. But if you like board games, I suspect, like me, you're somebody who likes those rules, likes those organising those tiny bits. It's a bit like playing with your toys, isn't it? So I did have fun, and I'm sure looking at those little bagged up counters gave some of the nerdier ones out there a little frisson of excitement. So you're welcome. Anyway, this I didn't want this to be a very long video because truth is I've never played this version of War of the Ring. It's been sat in the attic ever since I bought it, and I only sorted it out last week after many, many years. However, I have now found somebody who will play this with me, so that's probably the best way for me to show how it plays, because the rules are very dense, very complicated, and I don't want to try and do a video around that. I don't think it would be fun for anyone, least of all me. So we'll do a playthrough, and I will do a playthrough of the newer War of the Ring, and we will include in that the now quite difficult to find Battles of the Third Age, which adds all sorts of ships, Balrogs, siege engines to that first edition War of the Ring. But for now, that's all I've got to say, other than like and subscribe. Cheers, see you soon.